Thank you for joining us as we get into the news review. We have all the papers here, and we're about to give you details of what exactly they are saying. Let's start with the Daily Graphic newspaper, and it says SNIT seeks strategic partners for 6 hotels. That story is on page 16. Chocolate Day. Otumfuo urges increased consumption of cocoa. Have you got any chocolate products yet? And how are you celebrating Valentine's Day? It would be interesting to note. You can share with us with the hashtag AMShow. And let us know what you're planning, if chocolate is being factored into your Valentine's celebrations. Yeah, people are complaining about the prices of chocolate as well, but what is Valentine's without it? So do let us know. That story is on page 16. But the banner headline, Transforming Petroleum Sector, BOST earmarks 200 million Ghana cedis for projects and 6 depots to be automated. I know you're interested in that one, and I'll bring you some details on it. Now, the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation, BOST Company Limited, will spend almost 200 million Ghana cedis on a number of projects this year to help transform the petroleum sector. The investment, which will start with the procurement process this quarter, is also to bring greater efficiency into the transportation of petroleum products within the country and for export. The projects will include the automation and upgrade of all the company's depots to bring them up to modern standards to deliver improved efficiency. So those are some details from that story. You can grab more details from the Daily Graphic newspaper. Pictured there, Mr. Edwin Provençal, Chief Executive Officer of BOST. You recall that in recent times there was that very curious, weird incident where some people dropped reeds at the premises of BOST, with the name of Mr. Provençal on it, the CEO. And that, raised some eyebrows. I am hoping that he is getting the security he needs, especially when people do this and inscribe your name on reeds. It is a pointer to some nefarious activity, and hopefully we can avert any such negative occurrences. Let's do the international front very quickly. French air raids kill 40 fighters in Burkina Faso, and French forces have killed dozens of fighters in Burkina Faso linked to deadly attacks this week in neighboring Benin, whose victims included a Frenchman, the army said. The French-led Barkhane force in the Sahel region, quote, engaged its air intelligence capacities to locate the armed group responsible for the attacks before carrying out air attacks that killed 40 fighters, the Army's General Command said last Saturday. And again, Tunisian president, they have been in the picture for a while. Tunisian president cements power over judiciary. Those stories on page 5 of the paper. Let's check out some more stories. New date for Elevy Reintroduction soon. Now, it appears to be quite a convoluted process. Tabling, retabling, taking away and pushing back. But the e-levy has not gone anywhere. And I'll tell you why. Deputy Majority Leader Afenyo Markin has been talking on this, and government will communicate a new date to withdraw and reintroduce the amended electronic transfer bill to Parliament. It follows the non-appearance of the Minister of Finance, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, in Parliament last Friday to withdraw and reintroduce the bill, which currently includes the amendments that the Business Committee had consensually agreed on. Now, the new bill will contain, instead of the 1.75%, will contain a 1.5% tax. And presenting the business statement for the 4th week, the Deputy Majority Leader, Mr. Alexander Afenyo Markin, ruled out the possibility of the bill being withdrawn and reintroduced on Tuesday, February 15, 2022. And so that is the latest on the e-levy. It's going to be back on the floor of Parliament. It's going to be debated, and only time will tell. Looking at the numbers, we also have the curious case of Sarah Adwoa-Safo and what has been happening in recent times. We've heard from different elements in the MPP comment on that, some of them refraining from commenting. The assistant to Adwoa-Safo has also spoken on this matter, saying she is being unfairly targeted, that what she is doing has nothing to do with stifling the interest of the party. So how will this show in Parliament? We also have the other curious case of the Member of Parliament for Asin North, Jachikwesin, and he has actually been in Parliament. He showed up over the weekend. So what are we to expect as the e-levy is retabled? Time will tell. And I'm sure Parker Wilson, our parliamentary correspondent, will bring us details of that when it hits the floor. Now, in the middle spread of the paper, cool vaccines for safe, effective vaccination against COVID-19. There's an editorial piece there that makes for interesting reading, but that also dovetails into one of the big stories we're bringing you this morning. As the GMA, the Ghana Medical Association, digests this bit about a vaccine mandate. Do we have that? Do we even need it? And if we do need it, do we have it in place? When you look at our Public Health Act, there are wide powers that can be adopted in a situation like this, like what we face, the scourge of COVID-19. But the fact remains, there's been no official trigger of a vaccine mandate. And yet, in some instances, public officials, public health workers are being told that without showing your vaccination status, you're not going to be allowed to do X, Y, and Z. The GMA is contesting that for good reason. Of course, we already have a pretty small health service loop, and if some of them are already going to be prevented from getting into the picture, then it means we're going to have even fewer numbers to deal with the scourge of COVID-19. On the back page, Kotoko, Krobia Asante Kotoko, our very own, stretched the lead with Atuga's hat trick, and it looks like it's smooth sailing for the Porcupine Warriors. They sit atop the league log with some 36 points out of 16 matches they have played. Bechem United, Great Olympics, and Adriana Stars follow suit, all of them having played 17 matches, but the closest Bechem United has 30 points. Let's get now into our next newspaper from the Daily Graphic. Let's take a stab at the Ghanaian Times newspaper. And the NPA outlaws tabletop fuel stations, wages war to prevent disaster. When it comes to the bit about fuel stations, I am particularly interested because we've seen what happened on numerous occasions. We saw what happened around this very area, the Circle area, so many years ago. What led to that disastrous explosion? We've seen the atomic explosion as well, and pockets of so many of them dotted across the country. Well, the story, just to give you some details of it, it says the National Petroleum Authority has cautioned operators of tabletop fuel stations, tabletop in quote, to desist from the illegal practice before the law catches up with them. According to the authority, the practice is not only illegal, but a recipe for disaster. Don't we all agree? Now, the illegal trade is said to be rife in rural communities across the country, so this is where it becomes even more problematic. Urban areas, at least there will be some attention. Rural areas, and you see them as you travel across the country. Now, the Chief Executive Officer of NPA, Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid, who gave the warning, noted that the safety of fuel from such illegal stations cannot be guaranteed because they are mostly found to be adulterated. And of course, as you use these for your car, it affects everything from your engine to other parts of the car, and so multiple effects that we're having. Why should they even be allowed to do this? Yes, the NPA is making mention of this. Not that we don't know it, but why is it still in existence for so long? That is an issue. Autopsy on 13 Apiate explosion victims completed. That's according to Dr. Dasmani there. And GHS administers 12.1 million COVID-19 vaccine doses nationwide so far. That's on page 21. I'm sure you'd like to get to know snippets of what that story says as well. And a total of 12.1 million COVID-19 vaccine doses have been administered across the country as at last Friday, the Ghana Health Service has said. Out of the number, some 7,971,235 AstraZeneca vaccines have been administered. The service has also indicated that 17,982 doses of Sputnik V have been administered, while 1,057,299 doses of Moderna vaccines have been administered across the country. And some details there. You can check out more on page 21 of the paper. Now, 50 suspected criminals nabbed in police swoop in Tamale. And this makes for gory, very, very disturbing reading if you followed the matter over the weekend. The police in Tamale have arrested 50 suspected criminals in a swoop at the Tamale Forest, and the Northern Regional Police Crime Officer, Superintendent Bernard B. Ananga, who briefed the press about the swoop, indicated that several sheds belonging to the criminal gangs were destroyed and set ablaze. He mentioned that the operation took place in the morning of Saturday. Now, the crime officer said the operation was part of efforts by the police command to get rid of criminals in the metropolis. Superintendent Ananga stated that most of the criminals in the area and nearby regions were seeking shelter in the forest. According to him, intelligence information revealed that most highway robbers and other hardened criminals were hiding in the forest. And again, the crime officer also mentioned that 29 motorcycles were retrieved in the swoop. Well, that will be it for the Ghanaian Times in newspaper. But just to wrap with sports on the back page, just a confirmation that Krabi Asante Kotoko is still in the lead. They've not won it yet. And of course, there's also Ajete Strike Seals win for Olympics. They are also giving the Porcupine Warriors a hot chase. They are in third place with 28 points, having played 17 matches. Well, a very good morning, I should say, to Manuel Krante. Good morning, my brother.
Good morning, Ben. How's it going? It's a new week, and it's
happy
Valentine's Day.
Is it weird for you if I wish you a happy Valentine's Day?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
You know, there are some people who feel, well, since I am not on the other end of the spectrum, you know, the gender spectrum, you shouldn't be wishing.
No. Valentine's got nothing to do.
You're cool with that, yeah?
Absolutely cool. And let me say a special happy Valentine's Day to all the amazing people in my life. If you know that you are an amazing person in my life, what this is to.
Oh, mention names. Mention names. Why are you afraid to mention names? Mention some names now.
You know.
Amabwating.
No, I can give pseudonyms and all of that, but
please go ahead. No, I dare you to mention names this morning.
You see,
I can mention Susie Akapo freely, my mother. Happy Valentine's Day to you. How about you?
Well, which names? Comfort Latte.
Just because I went there.
But why? You know who Comfort Latte is?
Who is?
You don't know. Let's do the paper review.
Who is she?
Let's do the paper review.
Who is she?
Focus, man, focus.
No. I'm interested. Who is Comfort Latte?
Comfort Latte is my grandmother. I live with her. You know.
That's sweet.
All my life, and she's an amazing lady, and she's just one of the many amazing ladies in my life, and happy Valentine's.
I can mention a plethora of names, but
you have to focus. It's a new month, 14th February. Let's focus and do the paper review.
So a very naughty director is saying that your grandmom is not even. She may not be. So that's what you are doing. It's over the bar. But let's get into the papers you have. What are the big stories in there?
Well, let me just give you an update on that Tamale situation because the police administration has released a statement and it says that it has interdicted 6 of its officers at the center of that particular altercation. And the statement was signed by DCOP Kwesi Fori reads, following an initial investigation into the shooting incident at Lamashigu in Tamale involving the Tamale District Patrol team, the police administration has interdicted the following police officers involved. And it goes to list out the names of the officers involved. And it says that the administration has also dispatched a team of investigators led by the Deputy Director General of the Criminal Investigations Department, DCOP Frederick Ejay, to lead the investigations into the matter. Personnel from the Police Professional Standards Bureau have also been detailed alongside the CID team to work on, to look at professional standard related issues of the incident. So it goes on to assure the public of its utmost commitment to dealing with the situation, of course, assuring the people of their security. And so that's just by way of update on that particular situation in Tamale.
So there's the bit about those who were apprehended in the forest, feeling they were safe in there and they could go ahead with whatever activities they wanted to execute. And pretty interesting, narcotics and all of that involved, these motorbikes and all seized. And then we have the other end of, you know, the chaotic scenes in there as well. And some of the pictures, some of the videos, I should say, very troubling. people maimed, and some of them, it's early morning, it wouldn't be right to even expatiate on them. But I think these incidents, and we've had so many pockets of them in different parts of the country. Sometimes we think it's just the northern belt. Even when you come to the Volta region, we've had long-standing ones that over time we seem to think, oh, it's okay, it's all good.
It happens. So
but it takes just a little flicker and it is back.
And that goes to tell of our, our intelligence gathering mechanisms that we use in the country, because really most of these incidents almost always, are simmering really and have the handwriting on the wall and give one or two flashes here and there to give you indications that really they are just waiting to explode. And while we commend the police for their swift action and indeed commitment to investigating and dealing with the matter, we're also asking that this should not, this shouldn't be the goal, so that we are quickly reactive to the incidents, but we are also quite proactive to foiling and, as it were, making sure that these things do not even happen in the first
the prevention place. Always is better than cure. And the remedial measures come often too late, when lives have been affected, when people, sometimes people are killed, and all of that. You can't bring back a human life, that is clear. Some more stories?
Absolutely. I'll take you to the Republic Press, and please grab Kumonga with a picture of Oliver Bakavomawo, of Fix the Country fame. Cape Coast High Court finds two Asafo leaders, dismissed case against Paramount Chief on page 4. Over 190 fake electricity prepaid meters from Togo intercepted at Aflao border. And full rollout of Ghana card e-passport starts on March 1. This is according to the Ghana Airports Company Limited. Mahama writes to Akufo-Addo on criminalization of free speech. And also, when you go to the Finder newspaper...
Maybe before you get to the Finder newspaper, two quick stories. The bit about the meters that were intercepted, of course, a story from last week, but a very positive development, especially when you consider fires that emanate from, faulty connections and all of that. So if these have been intercepted, that would be good intel there. We were just talking about the fact that even when it comes to our security services, their intel should be up to scratch. That's a good example of intel working there. But on this bit about an e-passport, it made for interesting watching yesterday with MFR Pau as the executive secretary to the Vice President, Augustine Blay, spoke on some of the pertinent matters. So we are there, but we are not there. Not exactly. And by March, we're going to see some of these things coming into place. And there are countries that... It was interesting, because if I may just get into some of what
details there
he made mention of. It appears, yes, we've subscribed and ICAO and all of that, but it's going to take some specific things to be able to say you are picking your passport and leaving the shores of Ghana and going into another jurisdiction and presenting your Ghana card and for it to be accepted as an e-passport. Of course, it means the e-visa component should also fit in. And those entities should be willing to give you an e-visa, which can then reflect on your Ghana card, which would serve as an e-passport. So it's not exactly...
So it's essentially
you'd say
it's a good first step towards something that looks like will blossom in the future. My only problem is about how, for instance, the reportage on the key ceremony went, essentially. And I saw, huge media houses, with responsibilities of, if you like, doing a bit of due diligence. And fact-checking indeed. And they are just essentially become conveyor belt. And I started seeing the press release from the Office of the Vice President, which essentially sort of led these media houses to report what.
So they were just regurgitating, and I saw some of them. I saw some of them online. Of course, we're not going to mention names here, but so direct in it, and it took me aback a bit, only for us to probe and realize, okay, it may not be exactly what these people are.
Exactly, and so I mean, this is to teach all of us. I mean, not only those who might have gotten it wrong, but every one of us that. I mean, as we do this work, it's not just about doing the conveyor belt bit, and
it's not just about being the first.
Being first at press is good.
It's good.
It's good.
But do you have your facts?
Do you have your facts right? And I remember, being told by a very dear mentor of mine who says that if they give you a statement to report, they are telling you to tell their story for them. Don't take this. Take the statement.
Right.
Don't do what is in there. Fact check it. Do your own due diligence, and then put it together.
I mean, you can report what they say and add your independent findings.
Exactly.
To it. I mean, you recall, for example, when we're given certain details of our economy. What did our business crew do? Our business team. They went, got the World Bank representative, Pierre Laporte, and all of that. So we were able to give context. To the conversation. That was when this whole bit about 430 million even started, rearing its head.
And this is not to spite anybody. It's just by way of caution, and any of us could have fallen for that because, of course, if you have these newsmakers, huge newsmakers, giving you statements like that, you almost always would like to go with them. But lesson well learned for everybody.
Oh yeah.
That's,
don't say when your neighbor's beard is on fire, what do you do? Well, you don't laugh.
I shave my beard.
You shave your beard. Oh, that's a good one. That's another one go to look at.
Shave my beard.
But for you, which beard though?
Can we stay on the paper review?
but before we move on to your next paper,
Ben, can we stay on the paper review?
My apologies. The bit about Oliver Barker-Vormawor and how that case has turned out. I know you have some interest in that story. What do you feel about what he put out there, especially in our context where coups are becoming an in thing again? They are in vogue, across the sub-region, and very worryingly so. But on the other hand, he's given his explanation about what he meant. People have also spoken about the fact that, and these are security analysts, security experts who have said, when someone makes such pronouncements, ask yourself, is he capable of executing a coup d'etat? Is this someone, I mean, when someone is going to execute a coup, they don't come and say, hey, I'm going to execute a coup d'etat. I mean, so there are so many dynamics to look at. What do you make of it?
And I'll just start off from the ACP Agojo case. We're told by the Attorney General's office that, in fact...
You mean DCOP? I hear. Is it Kwesi Fori?
No, Agojo.
All right.
Agojo, ACP Agojo. In fact, he's standing trial for, treason. We're told that the Attorney General...
Why do you find it laughable?
Oh, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And let me just emphasize.
We saw the tools that were going to be,
and that is why I was laughing. But here's the point. The point is that he had been tailed, according to the Attorney General's office, for what? Close to 6 months before the prosecution was brought up against him. Well, this is Oliver Barker-Vormawor, who had posted in less than 24 hours, if you like, about 24 hours, arrived in Ghana and was picked up. I do not know if at every instance of anybody, any Ghanaian, saying that, oh, Charlie, be like a mining Koye, we have to, do a coup d'etat. The government, or if like the state, is going to arrest and prosecute.
That's an interesting perspective.
Assuming
1,000
Ghanaians
from different parts of the country.
Exactly.
I mean, and of course, it is. Let's make it clear: it is not something that we support or suggest in any way, shape, or form. Absolutely. But let's assume, hypothetically, that 1,000 Ghanaians or 10,000 Ghanaians in different ways suggested something of the sort. Would you pick all of them up?
You picked all of them up. If the answer is no, then I do not think that just by the mere fact that Oliver had posted, on Facebook or Twitter, what have you, then he would have been picked up the way he is being picked up and charges being brought against him.
How about looking at it from, I'll let you go on, but how about looking at it from the angle that he is someone with quite some social capital, some leverage. He is a known personality, and saying this could resonate, reverberate across the national life. People who are impressionable could feed into that. What do you make of that?
Absolutely. And that is why I say, if a statement is made and it has national security implications, whoever it is coming from, whether it's coming from Ben or Mano or Oliver or whoever.
Doesn't matter.
It does matter because the balance is different with the personalities involved.
Oh, I get what you mean.
Exactly. But the point I'm making is that just by the mere fact that the gentleman has tweeted or posted something, you can't say because of a tweet you are going to arrest. Then, I mean, if I tweet today, would they come and arrest me, or whoever tweets? I do not think that is the way that we want to carry out these operations. I think that a very well-informed, what do you call it, security apparatus will be alert. And this, for instance, will give rise to possibly having a closer look at the operations of this particular gentleman. Now, these cases are, I mean, these tweets has exposed the person into a position where you say has implications on national security. So let us look into it. But the way we arrest people, and this is by no way in support of Oliver's statements.
Definitely
because if you've seen my social media, I've said that. I mean, coups don't do anything better for the democratic
there are always two
of,
sides
exactly.
to a discussion.
They don't do anything good for the democratic progression of the state.
Right.
In fact, we've seen a series of them. Took us through SAP, took us through ERP. All of those ones came through before we were even here. In fact, after the very first democratic government in the Fourth Republic, we had to go for a HIPIC program. And so if you're going to talk about whether or not coup d'etat.
Did you say the first democratic in the Fourth Republic? Because we had the Rawlings, the NDC.
Exactly. I'm saying after the very first democratic government in a Fourth Republic. So after President John Rawlings.
So when Kufuor came.
Exactly. And so nobody should be deceived that just by clearing a group of people in government and in power, we are going to restore the country into heavendom. No, we're not going to do that. And so don't be confused in your mind. You don't need a coup.
So if you're going to swat a fly, you don't need a sledgehammer. That is basically
not. I feel,
and there are processes to follow in these instances. And the whole macho state, you know, apparatchik and national security. And one problem I have now is this whole bit about national security and how anywhere and everywhere. I mean, I find it so problematic, for example, that you can even see people and they are, flaunting the fact that I'm a national security. Elsewhere, you wouldn't even know. They infiltrate and they walk among you, and you don't know that these are service operatives. In this country, you see them rather with their walkie-talkies, and it's all about, I am with national security.
And bulldozing their way through every sort of activity, or some of them. But the point that I'm making, Ben, is that, and even I have issues with the time of his arrest and how he's being kept in, in breach of the Supreme Court ruling in the case of Martin People No. 4 versus Attorney General. Of course, he's not supposed to be kept in there the way he's being kept in there. So, I mean, there are different levels, and it goes to tell all of us.
And we've heard of, what's the name of the lawyer, the one who represented Akufo-Addo in the election.
Lawyer Akoto
Ampao,
leading the team of lawyers.
Also trying to intervene and all of that. But quickly, Manuel, it also brings to mind the bit about journalists getting apprehended in recent times. I mean, Oliver Barker-Vormawor is a different kettle of fish. We have the likes of Bubi Ansah. We have, Mensa Thompson is not a journalist. He is a social advocate. We have Captain Smart. I think there was the Power FM gentleman as well. Exactly. It appears now publication of false news. And I read something interesting on social media where people are talking about the fact that in that case, when we have people in officialdom post things that we come to find out are false, how about them? They should also be taken on. And the other side of this is people are now also pointing to the Ghana Police Service and saying Dr. Dampare started so well. But it appears if you look at some of these arrests that have been effected in recent times, it appears there's a watering down of that sort of sentiment, groundswell of support. And I don't know where this will lead, but the state machinery definitely shouldn't be used in these instances. We have examples. In the Rawlings era, under someone who was a coup maker at a point, becoming a democratic leader, who had issues with some journalists and all of that, he went to court. What is our wahala?
and I do not get our insistence on using this I call it outmoded, publication of falsehood. And really, and I made this example in quite a number of conversations that we've had the minority chief whip Muntaka Mubarak just after the election and swearing of Speaker Alban Bagbin say that a high-ranking member of the judiciary had come in there to attempt to bribe people.
I don't think we should go there.
No, I'm just
backtracked on that
exactly the point I'm making. That gave an indication that in just the same circumstance, maybe he would have been arrested. In fact, I've heard people make examples of quite trivial, if you like, but the example of Kennedy Osenyaku, who says that the Elevy cake for the majority leader was brought by a member of the minority. And eventually...
And Sam George daring them to provide the name of which member of the minority.
In fact, the majority leader himself has said that it came from a business tycoon who's also a media practitioner. And so that clears the air.
Publication of false news.
Exactly. So I'm saying that we cannot build a society where if you say anything which turns out not to be true, and in this our business, for example, with the publication of ICAO's 44,000 whatever,
right,
then all the media houses or their editors who published those would have been arrested,
right,
and prosecuted. I'm saying,
I mean, if we want to go that way, it will be chaotic.
You cannot run a state like that. That just because somebody publishes false news, person is arrested and prosecuted. No, and that is why the law makes room for defamation suits and so on and so forth. So if you think that you have an issue, pick it up with the person in the civil way.
If you've been defamed,
exactly,
make a beeline for the court.
Exactly, pick it up with the person, the civil way, and get your redress. But I don't get the business of the state in taking so much interest in who is lying and who is telling the truth, quite selectively, as I've demonstrated,
especially when
this morning.
Oftentimes we also have incidents where, so to speak, the state machinery, if you fact check them, they are not necessarily honest, which would mean they are, in quote, lying. What happens to them?
I mean, and of course, the stories abound, but I guess the point is made that you cannot build a state by going after people who you think have said stuff that are not true. You can't do that.
Anyway, I think we'll have ample time to veer into some of those issues, but a cause for worry, definitely. Some of these matters that are rearing their heads, especially as in the past we have heard of so many. You remember some of the comments from, what's his name, Sam Jonah? Anyway, let's leave it there. Let's wrap with the papers you have.
Okay, and so
story.
More stories here. ADB to open 14 new branches, that's according to MD. NPA reviews Petroleum Act to meet international standards, and it comes with a picture of the CEO, Dr. Mustafa Abdelhamid, and I heard him say that all those tanker drivers, if you like, haulage companies that are involved in the diversion of fuel are going to be tracked down and prosecuted. That, I agree with him 300%. 96.5% of children in 7 regions are schooling, according to the Child Rights International. Akufo-Addo outlines plans to combat illegal fishing. And here's a Abronye saying that Vomawo working for John Mahama. And so he said this. I mean, if it turns out to be true or not true, will he be arrested?
I think we should take such comments in order not to be brash with a pinch of salt, because in the past, when certain social advocacy groups or CSOs and the rest were doing certain things, advocacy groups that we don't see doing anything now, well, how would we paint them? Would we say that merely because they were active then and not active now, they were doing the bidding of the then opposition?
Exactly.
So this doesn't wash for me.
Especially when we've seen...
It is nothing we should even be...
Especially when we've seen that these pressure groups, Fix the Country, EFL and so on, have publicly refused any support and so on. And I covered the Fix the Country demonstration. I saw Dr. Abu Sakara come to solidarize with them. In fact, they told him to leave because really you're part of the political elite who are, you know, in this capture together. And so, well, I'm not Oliver's PR or spokesperson. I'll leave it there. Jomor MP has 2 dates of birth. This is page 3 of the Daily Guide. E-passport. Yes, Alpha Toffee. And then you have e-passport days NDC, and it starts 1st March with a picture of Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. And 7 illegal lotto kingpins arrested. That is also on the front page of the Daily Guide. The final newspaper, I've done that already. Let me end. Okay, so let me end with the back page of the Daily Guide with some sports news. Konedu Iadom AstroTurf ready for use. Renault gives 2 vehicles to GBA for Pro Boxing League. Chelsea clinch Club World Cup. And for now, they say that they have taken every cup that is in the world for a club to have won. I'm very sad by that happening.
Okay, I like the fact that you pronounced it Renault like and not Renault like. Anyway, our final story: the BNFT customers' appetite for online banking reduces. This is interesting for me, and I'm sure you know why. Let's see how things will pan out moving forward. But thank you so much for joining the conversation, and you, Manuel Kranting, thank you so much.
Absolutely,
for joining the Valentine's Day edition.
You should have been in a red tie. You are protesting. You are protesting against Valentine.
I will not allow you to do this. Let's see whether Muftau Nabila Abdullahi, who is bringing us sports, is in anything red. Sports is up next Tuesday.